That was pretty close, actually.
That was close.
That will make my editing a lot easier. But, dude, so was it Friday? Friday, me and Adelise go on a workout for the very first time. And she's no stranger to the gym because she, back in the day, she was, what are those shows called? The fitness shows? Fitness bikini shows?
Bodybuilding.
But she wasn't a bodybuilder. She was in the physique division. So
I don't know.
She was a fitness physique model for a while, and she had a meal prep, workout, and then go on these shows.
That's intense.
And she did a couple of shows, and she actually ranked pretty well. And it manages around the gym. She's no stranger to the gym. She's very knowledgeable to fitness. So it's not like me coaching her and telling her what to do, how to do things. You know what I'm saying? Like she's very well versed in the gym. So we were in the gym and we wanted to do legs. So me keeping it real, bro, like I kind of ego lifted a little bit.
And so now you're paying the price.
And now I'm paying the price, bro.
No wonder you were like, can you run the camera?
Oh, man. And shouts to Jojo. Jojo was supposed to run the camera today, but he had it's a slight little work emergency that he had to do. So shouts to Jojo.
I'm not going to lie. I kind of like the very small, intimate.
Yeah.
This is a throwback to the very first episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Where it was just us in my living room.
Yeah, that was insane, bro.
3 drinks in.
I know, bro. That was awesome. That was awesome.
One of these days we'll get back to it.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so I worked out. We worked out, and I just kind of overdid it a little bit, but it was good. It was a good workout.
You want to work hard for your woman.
It was a good workout, bro.
You want to like not just impress her, but you want to keep yourself fit for her. Like you're stewarding your own body.
Yeah.
Just like you want to steward your relationship, and you want to kind of lead that from the physical aspect. So it's like, hey, you want to stay healthy,
right?
With that. So that's I applaud you. So.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny how, and I didn't do this on purpose, but. Let's like stay there for a second, like dating.
Christian, none of this is planned. We have.
Yeah.
We did not go over. Oh, we're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
No, none of that happened. We just hit record and start talking.
Yeah. So just to touch on relationships real quick before we take a deep dive on some of the current events that's going on and the topics that I want to cover today. So I get a lot of like random DMs about, and even with like a year ago, everybody seems to ask me like, oh, how do you seem so happy in a relationship? How do you make it work? And yada, yada, yada. Like, how do you navigate as a Christian to practice purity? Because, Christians are huge on purity and you shouldn't have sex before marriage. And how do you walk that out? How do you make it so excellent, so perfect? I'm like, it's
not to make this about purity culture, but okay.
Yeah. And I know that a lot of Christians, whatever denomination you guys subscribe to, most of us have been tainted a little bit when it comes to the purity culture movement back in the 90s, early 2000s.
For sure.
And that kind of put a bad taste in the young adult, millennial, and even Gen Z demographic, because a lot of us are walking in fear. And when you walk in fear when it comes to dating, you're bound to mess up and have sex anyway. Because of lack of discipleship, lack of accountability, and a lack of other things, obviously lacking in the getting in the word and reading the Bible. And a lot of even a lot of pastors today would say America is the most illiterate Bible readers in the world.
100%.
That's 100%. Yeah.
The only feeding they get is their Sunday. That's it.
Talk about it.
And
talk about it, Pastor.
Here's the thing. The whole purity culture.
This is Tyler Wyman.
Hi, everybody.
Pastor Tyler Wyman.
Sorry.
For those that don't know.
For those who don't know me. Which I'm pretty sure anyone who listens to this, I still have a theory that you lose listeners when I come on, but that's fine. No big deal. But the purity culture, it goes even farther than just kind of the short end of, hey, like it affects this, it affects like even into marriage, and even to later in life, you have women especially, but it happens for guys too. But women especially, there's a very deep psychological issues, but then it also becomes physical, and it's harder for them to enjoy things like sex, things that we should find enjoyable. Right? Like, God gave us the ability to enjoy having sexual relations, and that's not even just like the physical aspect of it, where it's just intercourse, but more so the whole encompassing thing, everything involved with that. And there's actually a really good book. I just gave it to two people. It's hold on, let me look up the actual title.
Can you imagine it's the same book that Adelise made me get?
Hold on, you know what? By the way, for those of you who are listening and not watching, Javi and I are apparently on the same wavelength because we're borderline matching, from hat to pants to shoes.
Yeah, we're wearing Vans.
And so if this we're about to do,
I don't know, for those in YouTube land, we're rocking the same Vans, same kind of biker jeans. Are these considered biker jeans? Like with the?
I have no idea.
I think they're called biker jeans. Well, biker denim. We're just gonna go with biker denim.
That works.
Vans and a hat.
Okay.
Dude, and I was gonna wear a black shirt, but I didn't have a clean black shirt, so I went with a flannel.
It was my day off today, so I was able to do laundry. Thank God.
All right,
so it's "She Deserves Better" by Sheila Rare Gregory.
Okay.
It's actually her and her daughter who wrote the book, and it's actually the second book. But it's raising girls to resist toxic teachings on sex, self, and speaking up. I gave that to two people. And they both were really excited to be able to actually
okay, so it's not the book that I was thinking, because Adelise made me, not made me, but we're trying to read something together. It's another gem for you guys. If you guys are dating, like
study
the word, but also have a book study. Have a book study. Pick out one of your books, any book that you guys can meet in the middle with or have something in common with, and read together. That's awesome. It's awesome stuff. It's like being in a book club, but it's only two members, and that's you and your future spouse, or your spouse. But anyway, I am going to start reading as soon as I get back from my trip, and we'll talk about my trip in a little bit. It's called "Choosing God's Best." Wait, hold on. My phone is acting funny. "Choosing God's Best: Wisdom for Lifelong Romance," and it's by, who's the author?
I think I've heard this book before.
Why doesn't Amazon give me the author?
They do. You gotta go into it. So I just had mine up.
I don't know.
Dude, it's right here on that book.
Where?
Dr. Don Rurikar?
Oh, I couldn't even read that. Bro, I might need glasses.
Ranikar. Don Ranikar.
Don Ranikar?
Don Ranikar. I think it's that's an R at the end.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I did take calligraphy and had to.
So that's the book we're gonna dive
that's
into.
Good, bro.
Yeah, "Choosing God's Best."
Yeah, meanwhile,
Wisdom for Lifelong Romance.
Thanks to my boy Will, love you, bro. In our church leadership cohort that we're doing, I'm reading a book right now about church elders, and I'm just like reading it out loud, and we're just kind of going through it together. So it's dope.
Yeah, and I got sold because I was reading the cliff notes on the book, and I'm just going to read a little bit so that viewers and listeners can, if it's something that maybe you want to get into, by all means, it's on Amazon, and it's only like $13 for the soft cover. It says, "Many Christian singles today are in pain, wounded from past relationships, overwhelmed at being single longer than they expected." Wow, it's speaking to our demographic. Devastated at finding themselves single again. 18 to 60-year-olds will welcome the timely, biblically based approach Dr. Ranikar offers as he encourages them along the path of choosing God's best, healing from the past, learning how to avoid the pain of counterfeit oneness, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and much more. This attractive repackaged edition delves into the real issues Christian singles face today and offers sound, proven advice for creating deeply satisfying, godly relationships.
Nice.
And so
I need to steal that one off you.
Yeah, that one struck a chord with me because I feel like once I started diving more into the emotional, spiritual of myself, I feel that I started learning a little bit of where my traumas came from past relationships, dating back when I was in high school and when I was even a freshman in college. I look back and I start seeing, I was very worldly, and prior to getting into a serious relationship, I was practicing quote unquote promiscuity. And it's not like I was sleeping with thousands of women, but I was living a pretty worldly life before I got saved. You feel me?
Oh yeah.
So I look back and all the mistakes that I made, outside from having sex, outside the covenant of marriage, outside from that, there was other mistakes that were made. Like there was mistakes in the communicative area. I wasn't much of a communicator and communicating my actual emotions to my partner, because I was brought up in a school of, oh, you're a man, you're not supposed to be sharing your feelings or emotions with anyone. You're supposed to suck it up and keep it pushing, kind of mentality. And so a lot of that actually suppressed my emotions and suppressed my way of thinking, because I thought I had to toughen it out. And what happens is it dates back to your parents. Your father will see you cry because you fell in the soccer game, and he'll tell you stop crying. So that 8-year-old kid, that 10-year-old kid, that 11-year-old kid is going to grow up to be a 13 preteen, 15-year-old, 16 teenager, and 18 old teenager that was told all of his young adolescence to stop crying.
Correct.
So that's obviously learned behavior, and it's suppressive, and it can create a bit of a monster, because now you can't navigate as to how to funnel your emotions and express those emotions and actually communicate those emotions with the opposite sex. Mm-hmm. So that's where you get narcissisms from, and you get guys that don't want to share, and you get guys that will hide their wounds and their scars by acting out and being yellers and screaming, mm-hmm. and throwing stuff across the hall or across the room to prove a point. And that's the fruit of all that, is the byproduct, I should say, because it's not fruitful, obviously, but the byproduct of all those things is you being a yeller, a screamer, a narcissist, an abuser, because you were abused and yelled at and told not to do this and not to do that, and then was told at a very young age not to cry because you're a boy. Boys don't cry. But real men do cry. Real men do share emotions. Real men know how to communicate, and real men that are smart enough and has wisdom and know how to discern certain situations, know how to communicate without yelling, without cussing, and most importantly, without disrespecting the person that they're communicating with. Because the last thing we want to do is dishonor people and not honor God by treating people like a child of God. You're my brother in Christ. Such and such is my sister in Christ. I'm not going to have a hissy fit and start cussing at you and yelling at you, or yelling at her and cussing at her because we have a disagreement. You know what I'm saying? Or there's some type of discord. Whenever there's a discord, we should pump the brakes and have a conversation and get comfortable with having uncomfortable conversations, because that's where growth can occur.
Pain is a great is a great driver of necessity.
Yeah.
It also is unfortunately one of the main driving forces behind maturity, mm-hmm. or sometimes lack of.
Excuse me.
And so, but I mean, kind of to your point, everything you say, I completely agree with everything that you just said. So I'm not going to go back and try to re-emphasize on you that you did such a great job on that. But I will say, to be able to have that conversation, be able to admit certain things, that there is a maturity there. Mm-hmm. There's a spiritual maturity. And that's the thing is, I know for a fact that there are some people in my life who I used to hold in high regard, who always would get on me about my maturity, and I would kind of I look back and I start to question, it's okay, certain things I get, but then I was looked down upon because I didn't do this one thing, or wasn't in this. It's but here's the thing: with how much life I had already lived and the kind of life I lived, but then also the experiences that came from both of those, the very fact I even have my sanity is like, first off, glory to God. Praise
the Lord.
But then on the second, it's like, you know, I was forced to grow up very quickly, and that's actually something that both myself and Marla, you know, I'm the oldest, she's the second oldest of 9. You know, essentially having to grow up faster because we automatically had all this responsibility pushed on us.
Yeah.
And it wasn't our choice. You know, we essentially had to do this because it was shoved on us. We had to do it. We had to go there. And, you know, we just had to. So that's why, like, there are times it's like, she just acts like a mom. Because it's like she's, you know, there's only 2 parents, right? Dad was out working. Mom was, you know, like, you know, doing what she could. But it's like, two parents for 9 kids. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
You know, that's a lot. But kind of, you know, re-emphasizing your point, it's, you know, she had to kind of step up a little bit, whether she wanted to or not. And then, you know, from that, she kind of got a lot of growth, and she needed to do certain things. And so, you know, we both kind of, like, when there's like kids around or like there's certain things happening around, like, we immediately just like click into this mode where it's like, okay, it's older brother, older sister, kind of mom, dad, kind of like type of mode. Yeah. And even for, like, you know, like arguments, like we don't like arguments. We hate arguments. The last thing we want to do is argue. But it's also how we conduct ourselves within those situations. And so it's funny. It's like, you know, in a normal situation, like, oh, party, whatever. Like, yeah, we're super, you know, super chill. But then, like, when situations go awry and things happen, and I'm trying to be very general because that could be a number of different things, from like just a simple argument to physical assault to, you know, Lord knows, much worse. Right. You know, we can handle ourselves different because we've been in this certain position for so long, and we were essentially forced to mature to a point that, you know, even though we, you know, our culture and what we have learned both explicitly and or implicitly from our own parents, you know, we've taken that and we've had to keep going with it. Obviously, you know, we look back now and it does take a level of maturity, but then also being able to actually not deconstruct. I don't want to use the word deconstruction, but, you know, kind of deconstruct it a little bit, but then also having I'm blanking on the word and I'm annoyed at myself. Can't think of the word anymore. But to be able to, it's right there. I can't even think of it. But essentially, like, we're needing that to be able to move forward. Yeah. Simple as that. Right. But being able to look back and dissect all that, look through all of it, but then take it and understand, okay, this is how this has affected us. This is how we can handle ourselves moving forward. Because you have a choice of being able to take that and learn from it, or you have a choice of taking that and being negatively affected by that. Because either way, there's consequences. Those can be positive, those can be negative. It's what you do from those situations that will help define you. Yeah, and it's also having the wherewithal to understand where your friend or partner is coming from. Exactly. Yeah. Because, you know, I don't know what it's like to have, you know, 8 other siblings. Right. I have 2. Exactly. I just have 2. Right. So it's a little bit different. Yeah. But here's the thing. Also, in a different way, I helped raise kind of like, I don't know, God knows how many other kids from, you know, from my parents, all the friends of my brother and sister, and my dad, and, you know, everyone had their own kids. Right. And of course, one Friday night when, you know, all the parents would go getting drunk, I was stuck with 12 kids by myself as a 13, 14-year-old. You know, sometimes even younger than that. Right. You know, so, you know, but then also understanding, like, and acknowledging what your partner, like, weaknesses of your partner, not in the way of, oh, hey, like, you have a pride issue, but like, there's something specific that Marla does not like, and she told me. And I know it, and in a weird way, I have this power over her. I have this power because if I was to do this one thing, I could, in a way, make her submit to what I want to do. Yeah. But knowing she has this weakness, knowing she has this thing that she's afraid of,
Yeah.
she's given me the power to it. But I'm also honoring her by not ever using that. And knowing that, like, no matter how, if I'm ever put in a situation where I could be mad at her, or whatever the case may be, I know never to do that, even if I'm at my extreme, which I think age and all these situations in my life and experiences have mellowed me out a lot. I would never want to do that to her or put her in that position, because if I am trying to pursue marriage with said person, okay, well, if I'm doing this now, it's going to be worse into marriage. Right. We talk about it all the time. Like, pornography, we use it all the time, right? Pornography doesn't stop just because you get married. Right. The struggle with pornography, it can continue into marriage. So now it's, what are we deciding to do and how are we handling it? Yep. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I will see.
But yeah, I think it just takes a bigger person to be able to be checked when being checked, and then do the checking. But also, if I'm going to check you on something, Tyler, I want to come also with a heart of grace.
Like, hey, bro, I love you.
Yeah, because you have to walk in grace when you want to check your friend, your partner, your spouse, because you don't want to do it in an unloving way where it's going to just create more tension, more discord.
I mean, granted, we're close enough that you can be like, yo, bro, you're being really freaking stupid right now. Like, shape up. Right. And I'd be like, in the moment, I may be upset, but I'm like, you know what, bro, you're 100% right. Yeah. I do need to do this.
Yeah, and it's the way how it's not not necessarily what you say, but it's how you say it almost and stuff like that. But yes, guys,
welcome to the podcast. We haven't even started.
We haven't even gotten started, and I think in due time, once I start getting people on board with having a panel, we will talk about more in depth.
I was so excited for that panel too.
I know it's coming.
Oh man, I was so excited for that panel.
It's coming. I just got to get everybody on board, and scheduling is kind of crazy.
Scheduling's the hardest thing, man.
It's the hardest thing because everybody, works and does stuff and has kids, but everything. But anyway, welcome to the Kingdom Talks podcast.
Bro, this is basically...
I am your humble and gracious host, Javier, a.k.a. Javi, a.k.a.
Javier. Ooh, bro, that's... I'm going to make you a shoe one day.
Yeah, Nike holla at me. And I'm here with my beautiful, handsome, with a full beard this week, Tyler Wyman.
What's up, everybody?
Love you, bro. How was your weekend?
It's exhausting.
Was it? Yeah, I had a pretty busy weekend too.
It's been adding up because different things at work have made it a little more stressful. But I've also been working 50-hour weeks, and then I'm doing some extra stuff to earn a little extra cash on the side while also trying to start up some side projects. Nice. So I'm a little. I've been working in the church, and the pastor's wife comes up, she goes, "You look so tired." I'm like, I feel it, and I slept in that day too. Nice. And so I was, but I mean, it's been good. It's been good. Life's been good. My grandfather's coming into town. Let's go. Because my brother and sister are, get this, graduating from college. Hey. Oh gosh, way to make me feel old, guys.
Really right. That's crazy.
How time flies. How are you, bro? You doing
good? I'm good. I had a pretty busy weekend too. A lot of birthdays. So my buddy Doug, who you know, Petrozelli.
Good old Doug.
I had a birthday barbecue at the beach.
Happy belated.
So happy belated birthday. He's actually going to jump on the podcast May the 16th. We actually booked it, signed, and delivered. Wait. May 16th, me and Doug are going to take a deep dive on some stuff.
Please tell me you're dropping this podcast on May the 4th.
This one?
This podcast.
Yeah, it's coming out tomorrow. Or the 4th.
Yeah. May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you if I drop it on the 4th. I'm not sure yet.
Whatever. I'm claiming it. May the 4th be with you.
It's coming out this week. So yeah, that was happening. And then Annalise's friend's boyfriend, who I got to know pretty well for the last couple months. His name is Jean or Gene. and his birthday was also this weekend. So
Nice.
Saturday night we had a birthday dinner to celebrate him and
Whoop.
stuff. So it was a really, really busy. And then Sunday was visitation day for me. I went to go visit my brother up in Martin County.
Nice.
So it was really, really busy, and didn't really do much watching the playoffs. I know that for you playoff NBA guys like
Let's go Heat.
myself and Tyler here, the NBA playoffs are getting intense, man. It's down to 8 teams. We got the Lakers,
Hey, check
the
score.
Warriors.
Check the score.
Oh, the score. We're going to check the score.
We're going to do this live, so you know exactly when we're doing this podcast.
The Heat are up by 3, 54-51, guys. So yeah, so that's that. And I saw some trailers. Guardians of the Galaxy is coming out this coming weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming out this weekend, so I'm excited about that. I'm probably most likely going to watch it in theaters. A lot of people have been talking about the new Mario movie, and it's breaking records.
I saw it.
Box office records, guys, for a digital animation.
It's an animated movie.
Yeah, it's an animated movie, but
Obviously
it's breaking all.
It's all based Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah,
I went and saw it with Sarah and JR. I
nice.
went and saw it with them and Marla. We all went out.
I heard it had like a lot of adult content in there too, like sprinkled on.
Here's the thing. I think it was very tastefully done.
Yeah,
It was very tastefully done. Where it's
Right.
like it's easy to fly over any kid's head, but it's there's enough to enjoy for
The family.
for all the family.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Like, I mean, of course, my dad would be like, my dad passed out watching it, but I enjoyed it. Obviously being the generation that grew up on Mario.
Right.
It's like, okay, I was also being a nerd. I was kind of looking for all like the small little references, and I was like freaking out, like
what the kids call Easter eggs.
The Easter eggs.
Yeah. I heard there was a lot of Easter eggs in there too.
It was a great
very nostalgic at times.
Great movie, and not a single bit of wokeness in it.
That's awesome.
Not a single bit. No.
Yeah.
Like nothing weird. It was
No,
just a straight movie. And honestly, there was not even like a real. Okay, there was one love story, but that's Jack Black is.
His voice is so unique.
Bro, that song, it gets stuck in your head the entire way home, like. Which, fun fact, that song is actually supposed to carry right over into "Never Gonna Give You Up." No, so like basically, the song is a Rickroll. Listen to it in order. Trust me, it's gonna work out.
That's
worked out.
cool.
And you're just like, I sent it to Marla, and she just goes, "No."
Oh, you want to check the camera?
Oh yeah, I should do.
But yeah, excuse me, man. I'm like choking today. I might go through this entire bottle of water by the end of the podcast, dude.
Well, that's why I dropped it there.
But
do you want to do the? Do we want to officially kind of cross over into what we want to do? Talk about today?
Yeah. And before we do, bro, did you see that Lil Nas? Can we just talk about Lil Nas X right now?
What do you do now?
Oh my goodness. And of course, leave it to our people. And when I say our people,
You mean Christians?
Christians.
Nice.
Some of these Christians really kind of tick me off sometimes because they don't really show the heart of God when it comes to.
I've said it once and I said it again. Nas X, again, I have no idea what he just did.
Yeah, but I'm gonna show you, dude. This is crazy. This is nuts. So
You mean it's more satanic stuff?
Yeah, but he makes it very glamorous.
Let me see.
So we're talking about Lil Nas X. He took some iconic selfies inside the Met Gala. Everybody who's into fashion, the industry, the entertainment industry, all these big wig industry guys like the Beyoncés of the world, the Kalanis of the world, the Bad Bunnies of the world, all these artists go to this Met Gala to show off their outfits and to see fashion. But look, you just slide through what he wore. So he pretty much dressed up as a crystallized demon with very subtle demonic looks to himself, and the world went on an outrage. If you could even look at the comment section and see people's comments and read some of them, it's like ridiculous.
Kind of reminds me almost in a weird way of like a Japanese mask, like
Yeah.
a ceremonial mask.
Yeah, it looks like one of those.
But granted, his whole thing, and you saw this with that one song that like he like went to hell.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
did
yeah.
the devil lap dance.
Yeah,
Like the man didn't say anything else. He just dropped the song, dropped the music video, and then just disappeared.
Yeah.
Said nothing and let the world fight it out.
Right.
And he was so entertained by it. Now, again, I don't know. In the end, I don't know what he got out for it or what he was trying to do, but I can understand why people would see this.
And so the Christian critics were saying, "Oh, he's demonic. He's going to hell."
First comment: we need Jesus to come back.
Right? Yeah, exactly. and this is my thing, and I understand where the frustration comes from. But let's not forget what the Apostle Paul says in the Bible. When it comes to the people that don't know Jesus, we have no business telling them what to do, what to wear, what to say, and how to act when they don't know any better. Now, if you were a Christian analyzing another Christian and it's a fellow believer and he's acting out doing some crazy stuff, then yes, you have all the authority according to the word, especially in the book of Corinthians, that you can gut check a fellow man of Christ and say, hey, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be doing that. You're not supposed to be having this, and you're not supposed to be going to this establishment, and you're not supposed to be doing that. And you can check other Christians in Christ about how they're living out their salvation. Absolutely. But Lil Nas X, from last time I checked, he's not Christian. He's never proclaimed that he's a Jesus follower or a believer. And
didn't he say he did have a little religious hurt?
He did have a little bit of religious hurt.
And
according to a high school friend that kind of went on a whole tantrum about, oh, Lil Nas X is fake. He's a fake gay. He's queer baiting, whatever queer baiting is. He's not really gay. He's just doing it for the clicks and likes and for the clout, just to monetize his music and become rich off of the narrative that he's pushing. I don't know how true that may be, but that's not my place to talk about that. What I could only encourage people to do, and it's instead of demonizing him, villainizing him, why don't you do what a Christian should do and pray for him? Pray for the man. If you care that much to talk about it, be positive and be a light about it and pray. If you really do care, pray for the man. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Because I don't believe that he's a demon. I don't believe that he is.
It actually. Do you know about the verse that no one really knows exists in the book of Matthew? Do you know about this? There's a verse missing from a lot of Bibles where in Matthew it's Matthew 17.
Yeah.
You look in certain Bibles. You can check me if you want. Just literally open your own Bible. Some Bibles do, some Bibles don't.
Right.
Sometimes it goes to you go Matthew 17, you go down to verse 20, and it skips right to 22 because it's missing one verse.
Uh-huh.
Now, there's a few reasons why people think that is. There's also some this weird academic conspiracy why that is, but I'm not going to feed into that today. But basically, from the King James version, how bit this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. Okay, little context. I know it was kind of weird, but basically, it's where Jesus gave his disciples the ability to go out and cast demons out, but then later because there were some they couldn't, and they later in private was like, "Oh Jesus, why couldn't we do that?" He's like, "The demons that you were trying to expel can only be undone by prayer and fasting," which emphasizes the extent and the power of prayer and fasting, which Jesus says now. No, not if you fast, but when you fast, right? You should. It shows how powerful it can be, where fasting and prayer can cast out demons. Just what Javi said, we need to be praying for these people.
Yeah.
We need to pray for them. I'm not saying it in a cliche Christian, but it's we're asking for a revival. We're begging for it. It's okay, but how much are we willing to sacrifice and how much we're willing to put our faith on the line to be able to do that?
Right. Absolutely. And that's all if because people are so passionate. And I heard someone, I don't know what pastor said this, but I heard him say that it's so easy to hate someone than love somebody.
100%.
It's a lot easier to hate than to love. And a lot of Christians or so-called Christian people literally jump on that bandwagon of, oh, he's messed up for doing that, and he's pushing this agenda onto the kids, and that's effed up, and he's doing this, and yada yada yada. Lil Nas X is going to hell. He's a demon. He's practicing witchcraft and all this other stuff. And I'm like, if you're so passionate about the issue, like, why don't we be the body of Christ and pray for the guy? Literally, like why can't we honestly just pump the brakes a little bit and say, you know what, he doesn't know Christ, and Jesus died for him too. You know what I'm saying?
It is essential to have the story of redemption in everyone's story,
right?
Because that's the story of humanity.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we don't have redemption in it, then we shouldn't even call ourselves Christians.
Yeah, and so speaking of witchcraft and demons and stuff,
that's a nice little.
We're going to talk about not a friend of the show because she doesn't know us from a hole in the wall, but I love her. I've been following her for quite some time. She's an artist, a poet, an evangelist. She preaches. She does sermons. She actually has pretty cool songs out there on Spotify and Apple Music because she is a Christian, quote unquote Christian rapper. And we're talking about...
Would you call her a Christian influencer now? Or?
Jackie Hill Perry is what we're talking about. But Jackie Hill Perry, I feel that she's a jack of all trades when it comes to the faith. I feel I've known. I talk like I know her. But when you follow people on social media, you feel like you know them. But I've been following her for a while. And she has been making rumblings here and there. But Jackie Hill Perry... to give people context, Jackie Hill Perry is in the quote-unquote in crowd when it comes to the Christian bubble. And when I say the in crowd is because she rubs elbows with the T.D. Jakes of the world, the Tim Rosses of the world.
Where every person who works at church wants to be.
Yeah, the Louis Giglias of the world, and what's the CEO of PureFlix? PureFlix. If anybody doesn't know who PureFlix is, it is just a Christian streaming network.
Who is that? I feel like I should know.
Yeah, well, she rubs elbows with all these big name Christian creators, content creators, producers, directors, all the above. She rubs elbows with the in crowd in the Christian world. So she, being that she's in the in crowd of this world, she doesn't necessarily have to name drop or name check secular artists. Like, she doesn't need to do that because she's very well known and she rubs elbows with the people that I just mentioned. So when she was preaching that sermon and dropped Beyonce's name, it caused a little bit of a stir up. And if you guys want to dive into it, just YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Which context? She herself posted the video, and it actually shows you the captions of what she actually says. I actually have it right here.
Yeah, so we're gonna play it for real quick, and we're gonna react to it, and then we're gonna have a conversation about it.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. Because I'm
I don't know who told us you got to be a witch to be black. You are not more black by engaging in witchcraft. That is still propagating a white supremacist lie that black people in Africa didn't know Jesus. I am angry that the powers that be in social media and in culture and in music and in Beyonce's music and in Kalani's music and in whatever the other
She started
thing
going in.
to it, like, I'm angry that they are really trying to convince us that all spiritualism is the same. And we have digested this impurity and this we want so bad not to be legalistic that we actually become profane. We want so bad to have all these freedoms that we are entertaining demons, and you wonder why you are depressed, and you wonder why you are anxious, and you wonder why you have nightmares, and you wonder why you can't sleep, and you wonder why you see things in your room at night. It's because you're opening up doors to all kinds of demons. Close them. Whatever you got in your home that's witchcraft, throw it away. Throw it away.
So we'll stop it there. But so yeah, that she caused up a pretty big stir up in the social media world. A lot of people started chiming in on their opinions, and of course, everyone's gonna have an. I'm sorry.
I didn't want to bump by accident.
Yeah, and everyone's obviously the stuff that she said. Everyone's gonna have an opinion, and of course, the Beyonce apologists are gonna, go up in arms, and the beehive is what they call it. And listen. Some of the stuff that she's saying is she's pretty passionate about, and when it comes to our faith, when it comes to stuff that's written in the Bible, we have to address it and we have to acknowledge it. We can't just treat the Bible like a buffet and pick out what we like and don't pick out what we don't like. Because there's a lot of Christians out there, bro, and I'm sure you've been around some along the years of you just going to churches and being part of different churches and part of different communities. There's Christians out there that just don't believe in ghosts and the Holy Ghost, and they don't believe in demons, and they don't want to subscribe to those demons because they feel that that's weird. My friend,
I get frustrated at those people.
I get frustrated at those Christians because, my friend, you're telling me that you're choosing not to read certain inserts in the Bible, which specifically talks about the demonic and spiritual world.
Which in turn, if you take it along its logical path,
right,
you're denying part of God's power.
Absolutely.
You're denying part of the kingdom, and you're denying things that have been proven to be real.
Right.
Jesus himself even said that.
It's in red letters, guys.
It's in red letters. That's it. Ooh. Never mind. Sorry, I just gotta go. I'll tell you after. I'm not putting it on the podcast.
Yeah.
Saving it in my back pocket. I need to write it down before.
But how do you feel about Jackie Hill just going in on the narrative that?
So how detailed do you want me to be?
I mean, I'd like to get your honest opinion on what she said.
So my first thought,
because essentially she was saying that because we talked about it off camera. She did imply, or there was implications of race in there.
Yes.
Because for those that don't know Jackie Hill Perry, she's black, of African descent.
I like her hair. She's got.
I love her style. I love everything about her. But aside from that, yes, there was implications in there about the race and the black culture. So she was preaching to a specific demographic.
And there's video of the crowd,
right,
so you can tell who she was preaching to. Which, by the way, anyone who knows preaching knows that you as much as you preach to yourself first, you are sharing to a particular crowd. Right. Like obviously you're not going to preach to a room full of middle schoolers the same way you preach to a room of 10,000 adults who want to know more about sex.
And I think I may be wrong, but I think my interpretation, aside from the racist, but not the racy stuff that she sprinkled on there, the big uproar in social media from what I saw on the comments column was that a lot of Beyonce apologists were saying, "Oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. What do you mean demonic? She's not a demon. She's not practicing witchcraft."
Very close to conspiracy theory, my friend.
Yeah, and they get really close to conspiracy theories, like, "Oh, Beyonce doesn't subscribe to that. She's not a Satanist. She's not demonic."
Illuminati confirmed.
Right. So people were up in an uproar that Jackie Hill jumped out the window and fixed her face to say that Beyonce sings pretty demonic based lyrics in her music.
The only reason this is happening is because she has a platform. There were other pastors who say way worse things about more prominent people,
right?
And no one hears a peep about it.
Yeah,
it's only because she's
popular.
It's only because Jackie Hill is popular. She has a following,
right? And
she has an influence with social media,
right?
That is why this is getting so blown out of proportion. Yes, if she would have picked out another artist, I bet you almost the exact same thing would have happened. Maybe not necessarily to the degree of Beyonce,
right?
But, again, we don't know,
right?
But I can see this still happening because who was the other artist?
Kalani. Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean,
Kalani is another artist who is openly gay, but also has had relationships with men, and openly.
So I'm going to try to boil down my analysis. First off, I tried finding the whole sermon.
Right.
Couldn't find it because I wanted to know the full context.
Right.
Again, I'm the type of person that's like, I want to understand where this is going.
Yeah.
Like where she came from with this, but also where she went with this.
Yeah.
Because again, here's the thing: because she rubs elbows with such big name pastors and such big name people.
Yeah, in the Christian world, yeah.
She knows how to play a game.
Mm-hmm.
There is a game to play. I'm sorry to burst everyone's bubble, but there is a game to be played. Yeah, and she can play it because she's in that realm. She's in that sphere. Right. For now, I say it for now but that's a different topic. Yeah, I'm not implying anything. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, people calling for her to be canceled because of the comments that she made about
platform.
Beyonce.
If I was to say the exact same thing, no one will call for my canceling. First off, I don't have a platform. Right. And B, I also just don't care. Right. But on the other side of that, with her just immediately jumping into, if you don't practice witchcraft, you're not black enough. Yeah. And I'm going to say this in a very academic way. Right. To not kind of have people be sliding my DMs, yelling at me, whatever. But I mean, I was explaining this right before we went live, and you stopped me from explaining it. You're like, no, do it on the podcast. So within the world of theology, there's many ways to look. There's so many ways to look at the Bible, right? There's a way that you can look at it through that. There's a heavenly, not realm, but there's this heavenly counsel. There's another way that you're looking at it literally. There's another way that there's so many different ways to look at the Bible, and from that, you get these lenses, but you have these theologies that come out of that. Mm-hmm. And there is a academically acknowledged way of looking at the Bible where it's very justice and freedom based, and a lot of that comes from a lot of more particular leaning people that are normally in a certain, not to say a certain class, but more so a more African American descent of churches and beliefs and things like that. Right. And that's not me putting it down. That's just a simple fact. There is an entire theology based around that. Right. And you can even hear a lot of more African American preachers kind of talk about it more. They heavily emphasize justice. Right. They heavily emphasize freedom. They heavily emphasize these things because this is how they look at the world and how they perceive their experiences through the world. Right. Also throughout history as well. Yeah. Which, by the way, she mentioned something about white supremacy. Yeah. And that black people in Africa didn't know Jesus. Right. First off, did you read the Book of Acts? Yeah. The Ethiopian eunuch. Yeah. And Ethiopia is one of the places where they believe the Ark of the Covenant is currently at right now. And also there's entire generations of people who their traditions have not changed since the very first. Yeah. And
Egypt's one of them, an African country.
But the very first, even the actual apostles went there. They have not changed how they did things for thousands of years. Right. So that all being said, again, I'm not going to say she's saying this or she's saying that. Yeah. It's just kind of my analysis of it. Right. Having learned from learning in school. Yeah. And here's the thing. I don't want to say she's totally off with the whole witchcraft thing because here's the thing. And even especially if you look and you brought up Paul. Yeah. Specifically in 2 Corinthians. Paul really talks about the thorn in his flesh, but more specifically, he really highlights the heavenly realm and the heavenly realm and the earthly realm. Right. To kind of is that Caleb? I think that's Caleb. That is Caleb.
Is it?
That's Caleb. We I lost my train of thought. Thanks, Caleb. But no, so if you read Paul in a certain way, mm-hmm. you can almost see Paul saying the heavenly realm is affected by the earthly realm and vice versa. They're way more interconnected than what we actually give it credit for. Right. I mean, we see this a lot with demon possession, whatever. Now, I also know at the same time that sometimes when you're preaching, as someone who has done it many times, sometimes you can kind of get a little carried away with how you describe things, and sometimes take things a little, I wouldn't say a little too far, but you take an extra step more so than you would in a normal conversation to get a response back and to be able to kind of not rile people up, but get people more kind of on board with what your thought process is.
And I think
right?
she uses buzzwords like that to get people engaged.
Exactly. And he's like, and again, I'm not saying she's wrong. That's not what that's not really what we're
debating.
Kind of, we're not pointing that out. But more specifically, yes, she dropped well-known artists who, yes, listen, if she would have dropped Lil Nas X, I bet you would have been the exact same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think she dropped Beyonce because she wants to put Beyonce and then everybody that's under that umbrella in that pot, in 100%. That group. So if you're talking about Beyonce, that means she's talking about Kalani and Lil Nas X and Sam Smith, and I mean the list goes on and on. Like, these artists are talked about
because I mean even with Sam Smith, not to just pick out a particular artist, but just because it's the one artist I kind of know a little bit about. I don't I don't really pay attention to all that. But it's like, before Sam was kind of a normal guy. Now it's kind of, you looking at like what the heck happens. Yeah. But stuff like that, as someone who I've also befriended, it's actually funny. I actually personally know someone who's befriended someone who actually is a witch. Well, I was a practicing witch. And one of the things that I learned from her, not that I learned spells or incantations, but I kind of had some questions and kind of understanding. And one of the things that I kind of asked was like, okay, when you cast a spell, like, what happens? Where's it come from? Like, what do you do? And the one thing is like, she's like, look, you make a deal with the devil. Yeah. You do. You make a deal with the devil. Mm-hmm. And she did this one example. I think this is where she wanted to like, make this one girl's body affect in some way. Right. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be paying for that for almost my whole life. Wow. And I was like, and I kind of sat there and I'm like, but it's like she's sacrificing something, giving part of herself to the enemy, to the devil, to get this kind of short-term thing. And it's like, well, there are plenty of times, and even some stories that you kind of hear, kind of no matter where you land on the conspiracy spectrum or whatever the case may be, where people like have sacrificed things to be able to get fame, to be able to get glory, to be able, because a lot of times, a lot of what she kind of is alluding to, and I've even heard conversations about this where it's, you want the status. You don't just want the power, you want the status, right? You want things that identify you as a certain status or with a particular group of people, right? Like, she brought up like witchcraft and being black, right? Yeah. It's like, it's like, I don't know too much about this. I don't want to speak to it. Right. But it's like, to be more this, you have to have this as well. Right. Right. That could be either a niche cultural thing, or it could be a broader cultural issue. And so with her specifically, I don't think she's necessarily wrong. I just think it's sometimes in sermons it's hard to really tell where someone's heart is. And again, we only listen to a minute and 30-second clip. Context is everything. Because she, in that same breath, she said that, and then she said this, and then she said the music that the youth or the people consume are lyrics that come from paganism, whether it be paganism, satanic. Brings it into the whole thing of you have to burn like your items or whatever that's connected with that. Throw away and here's the thing, I found that kind of a little weird. Not because I thought that if you burn something. Well, first off, there are times where if you burn like a having studied some demonology and all this stuff, if you burn certain objects, you actually make things worse for yourself. Right. When you like, and so like I kind of was like, whoa, like I don't think you really understand what you're kind of. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. But she said throw it away too. Either way, it's a destruction. It's away from yourself, and it goes against whatever ritual thing, whatever. And she did use a real statistic, which is millennials and Gen Zs are the ones that have the highest spike in depression and suicides. That's a real fact. That is a real fact. Yes. That's a real stat. You guys can Google it. It's a real stat. Now, the crux of it all, and her saying that is because of what we consume, especially Christians, consuming secular music, consuming anything secular, whether it be music, movies, novels, whatever, right? Then she said, you wonder why
you are depressed. No wonder why you deal with identity
like you open
issues.
the doors.
You open the doors
and she makes that jump back to like demons, spirits, things like that. Witchcraft, but doesn't really. I mean, it's something about it makes me kind of hesitate that I think she kind of jumped around a little bit, but didn't really fully connect the thread.
And the Bible clearly states that a Christian, not necessarily a Christian, can be demon oppressed, but not demon possessed. I do believe that if you have the Holy Spirit dwelling in you, can't.
It's science.
Yeah.
Like if something exists, another object cannot exist where the other object.
Right. So I don't think I don't think Tyler can be possessed by a demon, but we can be oppressed by demonic things. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So is there oppression being caused by things that we open up to in the secular world? I would say yes, because of what
I think it can. 100%. Again, I'm not saying she's wrong.
Right.
But I also think if you lose your car keys, I don't think Satan's trying to attack you.
Right.
I'm sorry. Yeah. There are people who I hear we even talked about this. We've talked about it before, where it's I feel like I'm being tackled. It's maybe you're just having a bad
day.
week.
Yeah.
You're having a bad there are plenty of times I'm man, I'm just having a really bad day.
Right.
But I don't feel like I'm having the forces of evil trying to work against me. Do I think there are still forces of evil trying to work through that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But do I think it's the reason I didn't get a parking spot, or someone got in a car accident, or no. Yeah. Sometimes it is just ourselves, and sometimes it's just us, but we make it something way more than it needs to be. I am so sorry, I totally forgot. Camera check. But hold on, she said something else. I want to.
You want to backtrack a little bit?
I'm looking. Why you have nightmares? Why you can't sleep? Yeah. And you wonder why you see things in the room, because you're opening up doors, all kinds of demons. Mm-hmm. Close them. Whenever that's witchcraft. Throw it away. Throw it all away. Burn it. Burn everything you got. That's the line I went. Whoa! Don't do that. No. I think because here's the thing. And again, all context aside. She posted this video. I'm literally on her YouTube channel.
On your YouTube channel, yeah.
And so, which tells me she's fully standing by her words, which I think she should. I think
she stood right on saying throw some stuff away, because there's I didn't even know this, bro, but I didn't know that there was Christian tarot cards. And I'm like, why is there Christian tarot cards?
First off.
Why?
No.
Why, guys? Why? So throw that stuff away. You don't get bamboozled and fooled to think that tarot cards, just because they slap Christian on it, is a good thing. That's not good, guys.
Yeah, how many things do we just slap the word Christian on? It's okay.
It's okay. Okay. Be mindful and have the wherewithal of the stuff that's around us, bro. The devil is a cunning, sly individual.
And he prowls around like a lion.
He prowls around, bro.
But he is not.
And he's not going to go through the front doors of your heart. He's trying to sneak in the back. He's trying to see what windows you leave cracked open to sneak in the back, guys. So please don't subscribe to this paganistic because they throw the word Christian on it. You know what I mean? And it's guys, we should be better. We should do better. And the way that we can do better and be better is by having these conversations. You know what I mean? That's why I like to have dialogue about this stuff.
Okay, so what do you think what do you want the people listening to be able to get from this conversation?
Well, I think that the more the conversations are continued by you guys, the more initiative of doing your own research and seeking truth. And I've said this in previous episodes. If you guys are seeking truth and want to base your conversations on truth, go to your Bible. Go to your Bible. If you're seeking truth and want to stand firm on truth, go to your Bible.
And if I hear the words, "It's my personal truth," ever
by a Christian, especially,
I will lovingly smack you with the Bible.
Oh my gosh, man!
With my prayers.
Honestly, guys, and I say this with all the love in my heart, it is so cringe to hear you guys say, "Oh, it makes me happy It's my truth. I want to walk in my truth. And I'm like, and what church are you going to? Who's your pastor?
Oh, by the way, the comments.
The comments are insane.
Okay.
The comments are insane.
So here we go. So the very first comment, or at least the one that I can see.
The first couple,
it's the top. It's the top.
The most relevant.
I don't know why,
relevant
but after hearing this word, I need to pray for Jackie. As she tells these truths, the enemy will try tactics and strategies to bring compromise and downfall. We pray against the schemes of the devil. In Jesus' name, that God will protect her and her family, her marriage, and that his word will grow deeper and stronger, rooting her, to protect her mind, oh God, protect her speech. She basically does a little prayer. Then there's another one where it's like this woman can preach, love that she can tell the truth and doesn't sugarcoat it for itching ears.
Right.
This is the type of preaching we need.
Right.
This entire sermon, where art thou? Which I agree, I want to understand the full thing.
I think she's waiting to drop the full sermon once
everything calms down.
Once things calm down, and once her clips get the views that it needs. Because again, she is a content creator and she does monetize.
I'm seeing a lot of,
and there's nothing wrong with Christians creating content and then monetizing, guys. So stop with the whole like, oh, well, you're a Christian and you should make money as a Christian. Like, bro, like, let's be honest. Yeah. Like, there is a thing called currency. We don't live in the old biblical times where we're trading goats for whatever. Like, we have to make a living some way.
We have
somehow.
to make a living, but we also need to be great stewards of that money.
Absolutely.
Which brings us to our second story.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Wait, do we want to move on?
Yes, we're going to move on because
we're
already an hour in. So
we're already an hour in?
45 minutes because...
Oh, but I was about to say, bro, we're having fun. Time flies around.
But for you guys that haven't been in tune with what's going on with Pastor Brian Houston, Hillsong, it's been in the rumbling since the top of the year because Hulu decided to release a documentary. And if you guys don't know what that documentary is, it's called Mega Church Exposed, and it's on Hulu. It's a docu-series. I believe it's a 3-part or 4-part, Tyler?
I have not actually seen it yet.
I saw it. I think it's a 3-part, maybe a 4-part docu-series on Hulu. It's called Mega Church Exposed, and it exposes the borderline questionable practices of the church and the way they stored their money and the way they use the tithe. And they also take a really big shot on pastor or former pastor Carl Lentz and his fall with infidelity, and the woman that was involved in the infidelity relationship spoke out and said some pretty not so nice things about Carl Lentz, and so it exposed a lot of that Hillsong culture, if you will. So we're going to kind of talk about Hillsong, Pastor Brian Houston, and for most of you that's been keeping up with the story, most of you know that Pastor Brian Houston stepped down from Hillsong and gave the ranks to.
But I think he's still on the board.
He's still on the board, but he stepped down.
Which honestly doesn't really, like, if anyone knows church, well, I mean, depending upon which church you go to, realistically, if you're still on the board, you still have power.
Yeah. So he gave the ranks to and the platform to his associate senior pastor. The name is escaping me right now, but you guys know and been keeping up with that. He has been in some scandals throughout the years with his alcohol abuse and his DUI that he caught in another state. And he's Australian, so catching a DUI in the States is kind of crazy. But we're not really going to dive into his personal stuff. We're going to talk more so about the quote-unquote scam or scandal when it comes to Hillsong and the way they were funneling their monies and using their monies.
That was a long article that you sent me, bro. It took me a while to kind of get through it.
Right. But it was interesting. It was a pretty good read. I will leave that link in the description below for you guys that want to read the article on what's going on at Hillsong Church. But for those that have been skimming through it and seeing like videos on YouTube on influencers reacting to the news, because there's a lot of Christian content creators that are currently having this reacting reaction clips and reaction videos to the news that broke out about Hillsong. And but yeah, Hillsong, there was a whistleblower that said that Hillsong was using the monies that were supposed to be being sent out to outreaches that they have a huge outreach globally. It's a global church. And they were paying off pastors to get on platform and speak at their conferences, and using tithe money to pay pastors like Michael Todd and Judah Smiths of the world. Allegedly, they've been paying off Pastor Judah Smith, the Wilkersons of the world, the Michael Todds of the world, and giving them all these money so they can go on these lavish trips and go shopping at the most lavish stores while they're staying that weekend to go preach at their church.
And there was also I believe it was something about like giving it more lavish when they were coming back to Australia, more lavish things that would like cost like multi-thousands of dollars extra a day.
So this is all alleged. So we're going to say alleged.
Alleged. But we're not just sitting here just trying to point out the flaws of the church. Again, this is what broke.
Right. And on top of that, which doesn't help for the people who are trying to be apologists with Hillsong, it doesn't help that someone screenshotted receipts and blasted it on Twitter.
The actual receipts. Not even like, oh, here's kind of like a made up document.
So the whistleblower decided to do all this and go on to. I personally don't have Twitter, but I saw the screenshots. It's being, kind of revolved all over social media because I personally don't go on Twitter. But yeah, it's been on Twitter that there's receipts of these thousands and thousands of dollars.
Can I find it?
Thousands of dollars being paid to these pastors to do their speaking engagements.
But it wasn't even just that; it was also the used money that they got from the government,
right,
to buy also like a multi-million-dollar building. And there's emails about it of like, hey, we can't buy it until we get this,
right. So a very shady way of doing business when it comes to a nonprofit organization.
Well, okay.
Oh my God.
Anyone who knows me, anyone who's listening to this podcast knows I am not an apologist of big churches at all. I am the most critical of big churches.
And and I've been his friend for quite some time.
My heart has softened a lot on them.
Has it though? No, I'm kidding.
It has softened because of certain guidance from certain people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, also kind of knowing that God has certain plans for big churches, and they do play a part in building the kingdom. I will say that.
Right.
But it's also kind of one of those like, I played basketball. You played basketball with me.
Yep.
As the big man, you always have a target on your back. Because everyone wants to block the big man, they want to stop the big man, they want to say, "Oh, I beat the big guy." All this stuff. Like throughout all of my basketball career, I feel like I was walking around with a target on my back, and of course, there's this thing of like, David Goliath and whatever. But everyone wants to bring the big person down, right? It's the same thing, even like in like that rule that everyone hears, like, "Oh, in prison, establish dominance, like be the biggest person because no one's going to mess with you." But then it's like everyone wants to bring the big person down, right? And so I know there are people who just wait for these big churches and these big pastors to make a mistake and just jump all over. 100%.
And there's a pile on.
Yes, and I will neither confirm nor deny. I have also been part of that as well. So that is also kind of where I get that from. But I will say more specifically. There has been, and I've said it on this podcast before, and the conversation is becoming way more prevalent now than it ever has before. And even the trends within the church world support this as well. That unfortunately, the hand of blessing of God has many times been retracted from the big churches that everyone thinks are just the most blessed, because of stuff like this, because of how they handle things, because of the way that they run it. Now, granted, at that level, when you have that many assets, that many like employees, all this other stuff, and you're making money off of essentially making money off your faith, which again we already said it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like if they make praise and worship music, like they deserve to make money off the music that they make. But for it to be so big and then have so many issues,
right.
the real question is, okay, and this is the real conversation right here is the system that they help inspire at its core so flawed that is it better for us just to throw out the system and start again, or is it to try to go in and try to redeem that system? And it's a hard question. It's a hard because it's not a binary answer.
Right.
As much as it is, it's not a binary answer because not a binary answer.
Right.
Due to the fact there's so many other things that are playing it. Okay. Yeah. We first got to take the God aspect to it. Is God, is the Spirit leading them in this way? Is the Spirit, is this church being led in the Spirit? Are they growing? Are they a healthy church? What type of church? Like really, what type of church is it? Like are they a big church, small church?
Right.
Like Mike Todd's church. Caleb and I talk about it all the time. His church is tiny, right? But Mike Todd has a big platform. Yeah, there's a difference between the two. Yeah. And for many, and for the church to again be caught in this scandal, it's more so the conversation is not just moving towards, oh, could we save the system? It's hey, we're starting to see huge flaws in this system, and we're seeing how much backlash is happening, that they're hurting so many people, not taking responsibility for it. Now it's like, okay, now they're paying attention because there's legal issues, and because now with the age of social media, there's almost nothing you can do and the whole world not know about it in about 20 minutes. Right. Right. I mean, there's to kind of take a step further beyond just that one particular particular story you sent me. Right. There's another one that came out about all these like lead pastors from all these churches giving money back to Hillsong. Right. And the top names are a church that's right here in this
Christ
county.
Fellowship,
Oh, I wasn't going to name drop. Okay. Yeah.
It's on the news. There's nothing for us to hide. It's literally on the news, guys.
Well, I said because I'm just honestly waiting for my cease and desist letter. And I will proudly frame that thing and put it in my office.
Yeah, but I think that's one church that was the single domino that needed to fall, because I'm pretty sure a couple months from now there's other churches that are going to be named. Because Church Home being one of them. Church Home being led by Pastor Judah Smith.
All these churches are part of the Hillsong family. Okay.
Well, the Hillsong network.
The Hillsong network, which by the way, networks are, in case you don't know, networks are a very, very essential part of helping people build churches. Yeah. Right. Will brought me to an Acts 29 conference up in Orlando, which was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I also know that I do not want to be part of Acts 29 personally. When I start a church, not doing Acts 29. But even Will's like, hey, I don't think you'd do well here. I think you'd be better off in another network, Harbor Network. He's like, I feel like that was because sometimes like these networks are the only reasons why church stay afloat, right?
Because why churches what?
That's the churches stay afloat because churches close most churches close within 6 months. Yeah. Most, right? Right. But of course you have these big churches that are all supporting each other, right? Like they all go to each other's churches, they all speak, right? Anyone who goes to Christ Fellowship knows how many names. They know John Maxwell. They know Christine Kane. They also, it also used to kind of be, it used to be Lentz. Yeah. He came a number of times. Right. But then, Richard Wilkerson. There's also Veach, Wilkerson. What's the other guy?
Joyce Meyer. Joyce Meyer goes to Christ Fellowship.
Well, I don't remember if they're part of the same network. I think just because they're the big churches, they know each other. Yes, she's come to Christ Fellowship. I'm not denying that. Right. But to have these big churches, they do financially support each other, right. And I know that's kind of where a lot of people kind of go with that. But it's the amount that people are really more so upset about because there's a lot of money.
Yeah, we're not talking. And by the way, again, Google this, guys. We're not talking about thousands of dollars. We're talking about hundreds of thousands.
Which that's just what's been reported.
Yeah,
there could be a lot more. There's other things on the side that most people
that could add up to the millions.
Add up into millions.
Yeah, so it's gonna get crazy.
Millions, but again, like. That's just what we know, and they do support each other, which isn't a bad thing.
Right.
It's the amount, and it's what they do with it that is the huge problem. Right. Because listen, there's money exchange between churches that could help pay people's rent, their mortgage. First off, they can pay off a mortgage, for an entire year, can help someone who's struggling financially. Their bills for the entire year, including water and electric and all that stuff. Like that is part of the reason why this is such a big story.
Especially when inflation in 2023 is a real thing, and if this kind of scandal is coming out.
Looking at the gas prices, I can literally see glowing gas prices, and it hurts my soul that I used to pay $2, and it's that price right over there. Which, by the way, it's expensive.
Yeah. And that's 87. If people that gas with 93, you're paying $4.36.
Oh my! It's ridiculous.
It's insane.
But and this is part of the reason why I am critical of big churches. Is because it's you can be supportive of each other. Yes, it's like okay, if you have a pastor come out and they wrote a book, whatever, and you want them to come speak at your church, okay, you know what? They made their money on that. That's fine. Like I don't see a problem with that. I don't. I do not. Right, but it's also this balancing act of like, okay, well, you're
teetering a little bit.
You're teetering a little bit to this, but then it's like, but then on the other side of that, it's okay. Is the real question is this truly stewarding people's tithes, right? Because these are churches that emphasize unbelievable amounts about tithing, money. Which
even when they say they don't want to push it, they push it.
There's churches who spend 20 minutes on tithing alone. Oh, here's why you should get to this church. They did this for us.
Right.
Okay, I'm not going to harp on it, but I've seen it in like to me personally. If I see a church that you spend 10 minutes on why you should give, I'm not giving to your church.
Right.
Like, and here's the thing. People, it's like, oh, you're part of a church, like, what did you? It's like, no, actually, there's one slide. Hey, here's ways to give. Okay, great. If you just want to give to your house, great, awesome. We move along.
Right.
It took months for us to even make the slide.
Yeah.
But again, to keep this kind of in this realm,
right?
It's sad to hear such negative issues come up constantly from the same church, which, by the way, this same church inspired so many other churches who helped so many other churches who help people who help people find a purpose in life again.
Right.
On the other side of that is like, okay, unfortunately, and again, we can talk about the big church issues all we want, and I don't want to just harp on the things that we've already kind of talked about, again and again in the podcast, but when you pull the rug out from under people and then you hide a lot of the actions that you do, that's where it becomes an issue. And then it's like, okay, well, you're not really being a steward of of the funds,
right,
of the things that you have literally begged people for.
And I personally would ask or question, my question would be, okay, are these big churches being kingdom minded, or are they being their home church minded?
I think you already know the answer to that.
I understand that, but this is what we should be I'm saying to the viewers and listeners that are listening and tuning into this conversation, is that it boils down to kingdom, the extending of the kingdom.
It needs to be kingdom. If you ever need extra literature outside of the Bible, Dr. Tony Evans, great dude.
And by the way, there's millionaires that we don't know of behind the scenes that are investing in the kingdom, 100%. And they don't have to be in the front lines. Like the people that we mentioned prior, because Pastor Byron, who does the collective, who's done a lot of great things in the kingdom, he rubs elbows with these guys in Palm Beach County who are millionaires and are literally dropping $50,000 here to this missionary to go to Africa for clean water, $30,000 here for Seattle. by the end of the year, they've done over $500,000 on just donations to the kingdom with nonprofits who are doing God's work and being the hands and feet of Jesus Christ, and not a single name is mentioned in the headlines of blogs or local newspapers. Because at the end of the day, we shouldn't be doing it for the clicks and views and for adoration and for, hey, good job, Tyler, for donating and starting.
Yeah, give $10. Woo!
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, these millionaires aren't worried about that. They're worried about being kingdom-minded and investing in the kingdom. And that's how I feel, my personal opinion, and I think Tyler's kind of with me on this. If you're a millionaire and you're a Christian and you're a owner or a CEO to a company, a Christian-based company, and you're donating and putting money on certain outreaches locally and globally, like, God bless you. And we don't need your name to be plastered on on Christian blogs and newspapers.
A lot of times they don't want that. I mean, I used to work for a guy who, I mean, if I was to tell you some of the stories about some of the things that he's done, you'd be like, holy crap, please introduce me to this guy. I'm not name dropping. None of you know him. None of you will ever meet him. And I'm only saying this not to be like, oh, I know someone super important, but it's, the point was, more so the point is, there are stories where he gave to a very important thing, and they're like, oh, we want, and he's like, don't you ever put my name on it. I don't ever want to be. I don't want to be listed. I don't want to be known. Like, give the credit to somebody else. Yeah. Nothing. He's like, I don't want you to know who I am.
And sidebar, I'm gonna have Pastor Byron on the show pretty soon, so be on the lookout for that. Because we're going to talk about investing in the kingdom and stuff like that. So that'd be a cool pod to listen.
Yo, bro, what if we got like a few other pastors who are like very kingdom like that too?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk to Pastor Will.
Bro, listen, I bet you.
I'm willing to have pastors on the show and talk about stuff like that.
Hey, Will, I'm coming to talk to you this week. No, it's going to be next week. I'm gonna be, but no, it's.
But we should have these conversations.
We should, yes. Yeah. And here's like, I'm not saying it's good that Hillsong is in a lot of trouble. They've already been in trouble with all these allegations.
I honestly pray and hope that it prompts them to start from the ground up and start doing things better.
And if you read the article, it even says
they have a new team. They fired.
They're like, we are a very different church than we were a year ago.
Yeah, they have a brand new team now.
Which honestly is great, and I love to see them taking responsibility for the things that they have created and the things that
the willingness of wanting to be held accountable moving forward, which is great.
Because at first,
especially for a church to Hillsong to say that,
it's hard.
It's good. It's a good sign. It's definitely a good sign.
When it's mostly about image and vanity, it's hard to admit all that.
Yes, 100%. Absolutely. Especially when you're a global church like Hillsong,
literal global church. But again, going back to like, because even dare I bring up Mike Todd? Yeah. Right. As you know. He's a platform preacher. Yeah. When mistakes happen, they're very big and they're very public. Same thing with this, right? When your assets are millions upon millions of dollars, a single mistake can cost you so much, and it reverberates, and you feel it even within the culture itself, because even when you perfect example. Mars Silver in Seattle. Seattle to this day still has so much church hurt from that church. And again, I'm not trying to just throw the name on the bus, but it's an example.
Or pile on to whatever they've been going through.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm trying to get his attention. It's like, come on, bro.
But yeah, it's definitely people deal with the remnants of church hurt in so many different ways.
Correct.
So dealing with that type of stuff does take time to kind of not overlook that, but move on from that, and seeking counsel, and maybe sometimes leading some communities to do a little bit of deconstruction with their faith because of certain things that happen in their communities and in their church homes and stuff like that.
Which is why, I kind of actually I take that article and kind of take it as actually and as an encouragement, because it's more people are now willing to kind of call out certain negative things about the church.
Yeah.
And the church is willing to respond to them. Of course, again, you have those people who just want to see the destruction of like these big churches, who just want to see like, which I don't think even they comprehend the negative effect of like championing a destruction of a church. Now, granted, do I think the way that Hillsong has done, the way they've done church, am I a big fan of it? No. Personally, I'm not. I am not. That they don't say anything bad about the people, because there are still really good people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's still really great leaders and pastors and counselors and people who do the good work on the ground for the Lord, to be kingdom minded, to help send people out, and
we pray and hope that this particular scandal, fall, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to Hillsong, is that I hope that they have the right people set in place and the right people of power put in place to, again, build from the ground up, learn from their mistakes, and see what they can do to utilize the resources and the platforms that they do have to better the kingdom.
It's an advantage. I think Hillsong is now at an advantage. I think they can use this as a turning point
to
that conversation of, okay, is it we just need to scrap the whole system, or do we just need to can we actually redeem the fallenness or the things that we used to highlight into something that's more of a positive?
Right.
I think this can be a turning point.
I think so too, because
Hillsong.
it's so public.
It's
so public.
You can't not like hear everything now, because a lot of it, like, people don't realize, if you're reading that article, like, there's 17 full books, and when everything that gets like put into, like, whenever they get that this particular Australian government's parliament, whatever, they have to put it online for everyone to read. It's public information.
It's public information. Yeah.
I think even now they're still uploading documents, so you can literally go on and look.
But the fact that there's now this whistleblower that's putting stuff out in Front Street. It doesn't help.
It doesn't help at all. But I'm also wondering. I don't remember seeing dates or anything like that. If all this was technically before, like, the whole Brian Houston thing, before, like, maybe even before Carl Lentz, or maybe after, or whatever. Well, I'm just trying to understand the timing.
I think the timeline does overlap. It does overlap when Carl Lentz was on there. It does overlap when Brian Houston was actively traveling and taking these speaking engagements all over the United States, all over the world. So I do feel that there's a little bit of an overlap. But either way, bro, like, Brian Houston stepped down, cool. He seems to be still on the board. He gave the ranks to his associate pastor. Now he's doing the cleanup. And now there's a new team put in place. And now we'll see where the direction of Hillsong is going to go. And I do kind of echo your sentiment when it comes to redeeming or changing the system and in which way they want to approach their financials. I hope that they do a better job, so that way they don't lose most of the congregation, because there are people out there who are on an uproar saying, okay, you're utilizing all this money.
Oh, I'm sorry, he is not on the board.
Okay, so he's not on the board.
He's not on the board.
So he completely stepped down.
I actually think he even. I'm just reading headlines. But apparently he also blames the board for the reason he had to resign. Right,
but with the board members that were in the old grouping, they are all of them are not fired, but they all had to be put down.
Yeah, it's actually funny. One of the books that Will.
So they have a new team.
Us reading is the Elder book.
So there is a new board that's been implemented in Hillsong. So we'll see where Hillsong is going to go moving forward. And I hope that they're able to get it right, and I hope that they are able to do things for the kingdom, and I hope that they could deviate from being so focused on celebrity. I don't think that we need to pay these guest speakers and pastors 20s and 30s of thousands of dollars just for them to go to their city to go
because that's a cultural thing. Because even when
it's very cultural,
Caleb now is here. Hi, Caleb. Even when Caleb and I were part of other churches, like, it's like, oh, you do, like, if you have a guest speaker, you also provide certain things for them,
right?
But then you also, like, I've also heard from the other side, where, like, even Andy Mineo, not to just name drop, but But I mean, Andy Mineo, like I was listening to him kind of like open up about some of the things that he does.
Saw, yeah.
But it's like, he's like, hey, look, I'm a Christian artist,
right?
I need to eat. It's like, but sometimes churches want me to just show up and just like be out of charity, just do this to free for him.
Do this conference,
and he's kind of like, I need to eat.
Yeah.
Like I need to make money. Like this is not. It's not just my calling. It's also my job.
Yeah.
Sometimes that we can have that conversation.
Yeah, but
it kind of goes back and forth.
But there has to be a reasonable amount to pay someone to go speak at your church.
Because I even heard it where I even know because actually I was having dinner with a few people a while back, and at one point they were like, hey, like you've been in the church world, like. Does the things that we think happen, are they really happening? And it's like whatever you think happens behind closed doors with all these. It's like the answer is just yes.
Yeah.
The answer is just
now.
yes.
To what degree? It varies.
To what degree?
Because...
It's like look, again, I still know people who work at these big churches. They are good, genuine people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not blaming. I'm not picking out certain things or leadership again. Yeah. But again, one of these days I'm gonna slip and I'm gonna get my system to cease letter.
And I mean like. We are very careful to how we say things when we're mentioning, like, the Carl Lentzes of the world.
Which is why I didn't want to reveal
the Michael Todds of the world.
Things,
but I the only reason why I reveal it's because it's online and it's news. Like the Christ Fellowship stuff, it was on the news a week ago? It came out on the news a week ago, right?
I was sent it by a certain article sent by a certain person.
A week ago, right? It was a week ago? Well, I was sent the same article about a week ago that Christ Fellowship had to release its books and its receipts because of XYZ. And it's out and it's public. So what I'm saying, it's not something that Javi's insinuating and speculating. It's public record. Like you guys can Google this and you can see the article and see what Christ Fellowship had to do to make their books public record, because now they're being probed by whomever they're being probed, whether it be the IRS or the government, whatever. But being that Brian Houston and Hillsong are under this financial scandal,
a lot of other things are being questioned.
A lot of things are being questioned who are associated with the Hillsong network. That's why I said early on the show that Christ Fellowship was the very first domino to fall, and then 3 months from now, I'm pretty sure other churches will be named, like Church Home, for example, in Seattle and LA, because it's being pastored by Pastor Judah Smith. And Pastor Judah Smith has ties with Hillsong and with the pastors there. So, and he's been paid allegedly, up to $30,000 to go fly out to wherever they fly him out to in first class, by the way. And where he eats is not at a Chili's, it's at a very, very, very prestigious restaurant at that particular city. So, I mean, these things are done and the practices are being questioned by the general public because we look at it as...
You're seeing this lavish lifestyle.
Right. So,
and it's like, well, wait a second.
Perception does become reality in these instances. You feel me? So that's where all the
wanting only certain types of water to drink and all here's the thing,
don't drink liquid death.
But again, by the way, liquid death, really good.
Demonic though, from what I was told.
Anyways, so I guess I'm going to hell.
Yeah.
So that was obviously a joke.
Yeah.
But part of all that is culture, but that's also been emphasized in a weird way, almost endorsed and pushed by even the people who go to these churches, right? It's encouraged because it's like, oh, pastor this, oh, again, I don't want to just air the church.
And by the way, I love Pastor Judah Smith, by the way, so I don't want people DMing me saying, oh, you're a hater, oh, you don't.
I've actually been to home church. It was really good
in LA or Seattle.
Seattle.
Nice.
It was really good. Yeah, it was really good. My friend, shout out to John Pagan.
Oh yes,
he's the reason we went. He's just like, yo, we want to try this. We're like, and then we went.
John,
I was like, yo,
dude, I haven't heard that name in a while. Mr. John Pagan.
Mr. John Pagan, tattoo Jesus.
Yeah,
I mean, just imagine tattoo Jesus, and that's what it looks like.
Yeah, but yeah, man.
But it's But again, like even the constituents of the churches like kind of encourage that type of thing. Where it's like, well, you like, but of course, then everyone wants to follow them. But then more so deep down, everyone wants to like kind of be in that group.
And I also think that the Hillsong thing had to happen for other churches to step back and look at what's going on. So that way they don't make the same mistakes that they're making, because a lot of these churches wanted to emulate how the church was ran.
Yes.
Financially, businessly, that's even a word, but
it is now.
But they would follow the prototype of the Hillsong system.
Yeah. Because
Hillsong became a system throughout the years. So a lot of these churches adapted that system, like the Christ Fellowships of the world, the Church by the Glades of the world, and the church homes of the world, and even elevation churches of the world. Like all these big so-called mega churches adopted this Hillsong system because they saw that it was working. Yeah. Because it just got growing. People in the door. It was growing. The door. So growth to them looked like what Hillsong deemed growth to be.
Deemed as successful.
Correct.
That's what.
So I hope all these churches, especially in America, I hope all these churches take a look back and say,
Do you remember preachers and sneakers?
It's still a thing.
So I haven't seen him post in a long time. No. But he
released a DM conversation that he had with who was it? I think it was was it TD Jakes or some pastor that got caught wearing the Red Octobers. For those sneakerheads out there who know who the Red Octobers are, it's the Yeezys when he was with Nike, and right now those Yeezys are like $9,000 and up.
So anyway, we've seen this been building for a while, and I think preaching sneakers kind of made it step forward more.
Yeah, for sure.
Like brought it more to light, and because even he, like, if you listen to some like he even was on another podcast, the guy who started preaching sneakers, and was like, oh yeah, like, you know, he's like, I've had churches DM me and be like, hey, thank you for revealing this. Like, we're reevaluating what we value.
And then on the other side of that coin, he was getting hate. He was getting hate.
Of course, he was getting hate. Of course, he was calling out a culture that essentially was just encouraging like a lavish lifestyle, right? But again, that started it. But then, as you watch as time goes on, like now, kind of what we were saying earlier, the trend of the church is that people are leaving the big churches. There's still plenty of people in the big churches that they're going to survive.
Well, in the West Coast, the biggest trend now is church homes. People gathering microchurch.
They're dubbing them microchurches.
Microchurch.
Tampa has a ton of microchurches. The Tampa Underground.
And the Asian brother that started that movement in the West Coast in California is what's his name? The bald Asian guy.
Francis Chan.
Is it? He's the one that started the movement. What's his name? It's escaping me.
Well, I thought it was Francis Chan, right?
Yeah, it is. It is Francis Chan. Yeah. So he's like the godfather of pushing that movement, and now you're seeing it in Tampa. You're seeing it.
You're seeing it hop around so much,
right?
But of course,
it became prevalent too during COVID.
With every
when COVID happened,
with every positive, there's a negative.
Yeah.
In fact, Caleb, myself, and Will actually talked about this kind of recently. Y'all need to hear the conversations that me, Will, and Caleb have.
Well, I want to have those conversations here on the podcast.
We
guys.
will. It's going to be great.
So,
it's a lot. But one of the things that even Will was kind of, he's like, you know, not that these, you know, home churches are bad. It's like, you know, okay, they're great. I'm glad that they're happening. But at the same time, it's like there's almost no real oversight over that person, whoever's leading it. Not necessarily it's a bad thing. And I'm not saying that they don't, because there are some people who do take the necessary steps to do so. Yeah. They find themselves elders.
Well, home churches done right have the parameters. And
here there it is. Done right.
Yeah.
We thought we were doing it right before. Mm-hmm. With everything Hillsong was doing.
I'm saying with church homes.
Yes. Now with church homes, I'm actually really excited to see kind of how this affects the kingdom. Yeah. Because with these church homes, you are getting a very different vibe, which is what people are seeking out.
How are we doing time? We're good?
We're 3 hours in, and we are still going on the same topic.
The Knicks are about to win, too, so we're going to
First off, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. As a Heat fan. Whatever, it's fine. But I'm just excited to see where it goes, because I'm thinking it from a social standpoint, but I'm also really excited to see, like, academically kind of how this affects the movement of the church. because it really is a true movement back to the origins of church.
Yeah.
But now, I really would want to see kind of like how, like, I mean, if I could bring the apostles back in time and show them, bring them forward in time and show them, kind of, it's like, what letters would you send to these people? What would you want to do? What would you want? Like, of course, everyone would want that, but
but I think the letters that were written thousands of years ago can
still
be,
prevalent.
they are very relevant to
we were just talking about Paul.
church planters and church goers and everybody in between.
So do this for the rest of the podcast.
So,
but yeah, so that is what I'm excited to see kind of where that goes. I'm a little hesitant to just kind of jump on the bandwagon with that, just because, again, Will brought up some good points, but at the same time, like, I think that we're kind of in this transition period, to where we are, because a lot of it's, there are a lot of churches who are starting essentially based off church hurt.
Right.
They are. Right, you said it plenty of times. Hurt people.
Right.
Well, they're essentially, and as we were kind of talking about earlier, to bring it back to our earlier conversation, like when these lessons that you learned earlier on, do essentially they manifest and you become a self-fulfilling prophecy later on in life. And so it's like, okay, well, the very things that you were kind of being super heavily focused on before are now the things that you yourself are doing. You see this with a lot of churches, and I'm again not going to name drop churches because I'm not going to do it. No, this is something a little closer to home, but but it's like even certain stories of like why people started churches and what they do with them in the end, have been like I'm hesitant.
You talk about Revealed Church. Stop talking about them like that, bro.
Listen, bro. You know who I'm talking about? You know who I'm really talking about? You want me to really name drop? You want me to name drop right now?
Bro, shout outs to Revealed Church and those beautiful people out there.
Wait, what's Revealed Church?
You don't know who Revealed Church is?
Bro,
we'll talk offline. Anyway.
Bro, listen. No, Proclaim Church, bro. Proclaim
Church. Let's go. Journey Church. Shouts to Journey Church. Shouts to Journey Church. Shouts to all the churches that are doing the church.
The micro churches.
Shouts to every church, bro.
I know you don't have
there's no perfect church, bro. So shouts to all the churches that are.
Yeah, shout out to the beautiful quilt of
there's
God,
no
of
such
God's
thing as
kingdom.
a perfect church, bro. But on that note, thank you for tuning in. I hope that you were thoroughly entertained about.
If you made
we talked about Lil Nas X, demons possession, relationships, Beyonce being a witch, and church, and
you had to be here,
Brian Houston. So I hope you guys were thoroughly
people are gonna just DM you and be like, bro, what is with you guys?
Yeah,
what is going on with your podcast?
We did not sit here and say that Beyonce was a witch. So
we did not. That's not something
that we said. But we were just saying what Jackie Perry Hill was saying, and she's very passionate about what she believes in.
We were analyzing.
We were analyzing and reacting to a lot of things that happened in the culture this past week, and that's what we're gonna leave it at. As always, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Spotify, Apple, YouTube. You already know the drill. If you're watching this on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. Holla at your boy Tyler. He's officially on Instagram now.
Oh, by the way, today I made my first post.
Link on the description to see his first post.
See my first post.
Holla at your boy. We love you guys. Till next time. Peace.
Love you.